11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. We simulcast it over on gunchannels.com, a platform we've built. It's going on 6 years now. A place for people that create 2A content or Second Amendment content. A place for people that are looking to grow a channel or a project or a company or a product, and people that like to be involved in the grassroots creation and like to see real content and participate in it. And everything we do is an effort in new media, in interactive aspects of the way that we can use the internet here for this communication, for this conversation about guns. So we appreciate the people that use the text chats while we're chatting. We do this show every weeknight. So on Fridays, we usually talk about gun tech and the firearms industry. So that'll be our sort of themes. I've invited a lot of people tonight, hoping to get a good show. Sent the emails out a while back. Sent out a link on our Patreon page, so anybody who's supporting us financially on the Patreon platform had a link to jump in. And Patriot and I have been talking. So right now we've got Patriot joining us out of Michigan. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for jumping in. I don't do these shows, to have a platform to just spout out stuff. I do enjoy being part of conversations, and I believe that we'll all get better as we have more conversations, but I don't do the show if I'm just here by myself. So thanks, Patriot, for joining in. Like I say, we've got a lot of links out there, so hopefully some others will roll in even during the late hours here. But we'll get it going with what we were chatting off here. So Patriot was chatting about, or we were talking about the chat we had yesterday on Clover Tax Nerd Chat, where we talk about the industry and how to use social media and the platforms and the tools that we use, how the nuts and bolts of creating Second Amendment or gun content. And yesterday's show was about using tags and descriptions in videos, titles, hashtags, and that kind of thing. And Patriot was about to start talking about something that I guess you learned yesterday, and I cut you off and said, let's do this live. So 15 minutes ago, we started a conversation. I'll shut up and let you keep going.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the after hours chats that Clover puts on with the title and description stuff. A lot of the hashtags that everybody uses, I lost my sight prior to them becoming popular. And so when I first started doing my videos, it said to, insert tags. And so all my tags, I put hashtags, which I didn't know that wasn't what you were supposed to do. That you would just put the phrase or the words or whatever separated by commas, and that you can insert them. But I went through and I had hashtags on everything. And so this morning, after discussing things with Ghost and Clover, I spent most of the morning redoing tags, which is tedious on the phone, but I use the phone app because it's a little quicker for me. So it was interesting because with the bringing the title and putting it in your description and taking things that are in both your title and description, using those as tags, because I had a bunch of random tags that were related to, say, the video, but it wasn't directly connected as far as in the description or anything. And so I modified some things, and then it made me really think about the actual description and adding some of those random thoughts that I had afterwards in there and cleaning it up a little bit. So I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm sure it's going to do something positive. So there's it works right.
So many ways we can go from this. Ghost just jumped in. Thanks for joining. I think you just heard most of what we're talking about. We just started. But just what you said, there's so many ways we can dig into that. So first, I guess you mentioned that after kind of focusing on some various, deliberate uses of hashtags and what works and what doesn't and that kind of thing, and then strategies, I guess, you decided to go in and change things from what you had to whatever you changed it to with the new insight. So I'm going to ask about the ones that had been there. Were those there because you intentionally put ones there and now you're thinking incorrectly, or were they there just out of like habit or something, or was there another reason? But I'm asking, I guess, those hashtags that you had used before, where did those come from? Like, what was the idea there?
The thing that I did, on the first couple videos, I made the title, I did a description, kind of obviously going, covering a brief overview of what I was doing in the video and why. Then the tags, I just took, a word or two instead of these longer phrases or, 3-word phrases or something. And instead of just writing the words in the tag section of the video, I do them as a hashtag. So instead of 1911 field strip, I would do hashtag 1911 field strip in that tag section. And so everything that I put in that tag section, I made as a hashtag instead of just keywords.
Okay, but basically then what you had in there had hashtags, the number sign, the pound sign, but you didn't just have like a boilerplate collection, or like some people just like, I want to get found, so I'm going to put like Britney Spears in here because some people think that works. So you had tuned keywords. It's just that you had the pound sign in front of them. Now, just to piss you off and get you all upset, you could leave those in there. The hashtags don't hurt nothing. In fact, they probably help. You could have probably copied, pasted, and then removed hashtags from half, if that makes sense. Like, copy everything that's in there, paste it so there's a duplicate set, and then just remove hashtags from half of them. And that would have probably been pretty good. Like Ghost said, what is there, 500 keywords or 500 characters you could put in there?
Yeah, I'm not even close to that. I'm assuming I might have 20 keywords or whatever, phrases or such. But the big thing was, I threw in like common sense, right? Because that's obviously a keyword that I'd like to bring those kind of people that are looking for that, into my videos. But it had nothing to do with the description. It wasn't included in my description, and so reworking, some of the things that putting in Second Amendment, but in my description I put 2A a lot, and so I'd go through and modify so that they matched, and that I'm assuming that's going to help a lot, but it makes a lot more sense this way, because I would just go through and make my description and then just off separate from it make a list of keywords, then I'd copy them and just dump them in there. And so it was just things that I randomly thought somebody might search for that would be interested in that video, but it was something that I thought was related and may have been, but I don't know if they were or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's, I just like I said, there's so many things that we can be talking about with this stuff. Ghost just jumped in. I don't even say anything. Are you driving, or are you in front of something?
No, I'm just chilling. Chilling. I got off the phone with Clover. We just booked our place for NRA. So
right on. Talking keywords, wherever we want to go with it. I mean, Fridays we normally talk about industry or tech, but we're talking keywords before the show, so we're talking keywords now. I guess one thing I'm going to mention is the alt text. So it has kind of keywords, but not really. But as far as making things effective and getting the most use out of the time you're spending on these platforms and the most effort, or most out of your efforts, Patriot's been a great advocate for using the alt text on Instagram. So back in the olden days, when we were first putting things on the internet, there were some, I don't know what to call them, like standards established, some ways of doing things, some traditions and so forth. And some of those stuck and some of them didn't. And hashtags are a result of like an incarnation of those original things. So it all comes down to when you put something on the internet and the computers, Skynet has to keep track of it all. It's not smart enough yet, at least publicly, to see what's in a picture. So it has to be told what everything is. So there's a little piece of words that you can attach to every picture, so just so the internet knows where to put it on what shelf or whatever. So that element, that alt text, that's what it's called technically, is a component of pretty much anything online. A lot of times it's hidden from us, or we don't see it. It's maybe something we fill out is used as the alt text, or some automated thing strips something out and creates it as an alt text, or maybe the system, the platform that we're using ignores the alt text. It really kind of depends. There's no laws about any of this. It's just kind of like, say, tradition or habits. And Instagram has the alt text feature, and I didn't even know about it, honestly, until Patriot started petitioning for it, people to use it. And you wanted people to use it because your readers, the things that you use to interface for anybody that's either visually or because of maybe work or something, like you're not able to look at a monitor, so you're going to use some alternate method of navigating the web. All of those navigational tools are going to rely on those things. So there's this alt text portion of Instagram, and it took a while. Well, like I say, it took me a while to be aware of it, but it took some effort to find it. Like when you first told us about it, you'd have to, as you were loading the image or as you're posting a picture, I guess, on Instagram, you'd have to remember to go down there and do it. And for me, on my phone or whatever, my interface on an Android, it was physically way down at the bottom, like in very small letters, and it almost looked like the kind of thing you overlook because it looks like a copyright notice or a trademark or one of those little tiny things. But it was actually a little advanced settings. You'd click on that and you could change a couple of different things, including that alt text, and that's where you could type it in there. And then it was 3 enters, like enter, 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 to get back to where you started from. So they made it kind of difficult and available, which was good, but not necessarily in with the flow of posting. And there was no way to like automate what we're going to put in there or anything. So anyway, when you started talking about it, I thought that was pretty neat. And whenever I had something that was interesting that I wanted you to be aware of, and anybody else who's been using the app the same way you are, or if I wanted to get more reach, I would start using that alt text. And that's what I wanted to talk about it here. So in the context of keywords, that alt text is definitely a tool. And when we're talking about putting stuff on the stream, which is basically what Instagram is a stream of pictures, and we want our stuff to either float to the top or maybe go a little bit slower down the stream so that more people have an opportunity to see it, understanding the platform, understanding its interface and how it works and the ways that you can use it, and using it in its entirety is always a benefit. So including those alt texts is a great concept, not just for reach, but also for efficiency on the platform. And I just did an update the other day when Instagram went down, right? And it wasn't working for anybody around the world, I guess. As part of the troubleshooting, I went and saw if the app on my phone needed an update, and it did. So I updated it, and I got a new version, I guess, right? So now when I go in to edit any picture, the alt text is right there, like what do they call it? Like on top of, what do they call that? It's on top of the image. So it's just in the image right there. There's a little button that says alt text. So even if you didn't add it ahead of time, you can go in and add it. And I guess I failed to mention before that update, if you didn't put the alt text in as you were posting, you had no option of going in and adding it or editing it. It was either at the time of upload or not at all. So every time I'd forget, it was nothing I could do about it. Now, if you forget to use the alt text, or again, you have an older post that you want to go try to get some more life out of, or when you're reposting, be sure to include those alt texts, and it's easier and easier now. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about that. Thanks for bringing that to light.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to bring up is that my software is basically the same as the robots and the spiders that are looking at the internet. Anything that the computer can see, that's what's actually being read to me. So if there's a bunch of numbers before a picture and all that kind of stuff, I mean, I can block it out. I could selectively, look at things or not. But that alt text is something that is searched, and so that even broadens it more. So if you have all those words in there, plus your title and description and all that other stuff. The only issue I'm having so far is with the videos. The little video clips is not allowing me to change any of that yet, but I'm working on it. But it definitely will help, with searches, because if it's got more information, and more information, they like that. So
yeah, I think everything on the internet goes into a database. So a database is a spreadsheet. So it's just a spreadsheet. Everybody's familiar with spreadsheet. If you're not, it's just a grid. So it's a columns and rows, just a big grid. Every single thing on the internet's binary. Every single thing goes into basically a spreadsheet or a database. So think of the columns and rows. So you've got, you know, the columns that might be the name of the picture, the title of it, the date, you know, the person who posted it. Then there might be a column for the number of times it's been viewed, a column for the number of times that it's been liked, a column that, you know, has an entry for each of the comments or something like that. So when you think of all these different attributes or characteristics of an entry in that database or that post, that picture that you put on Instagram, if you're, let's say you posted every picture and you didn't include any description at all, just plain picture, all that database is going to have is date, username, and picture. That's it. Like, it's going to have no other data. So how is it ever going to sort that and offer it to someone? If someone were to do that action on Instagram, just post pictures and then claim that Instagram was out to get them, I don't think they'd have a valid case there, right? So that's an exaggerated extreme example. So if you go the other way and you use every single thing you can possibly do, you're shoving map data in there and you're giving it your home address and you put your social security, I'm just kidding, but you give it everything you can possibly give it. Then when it comes along and says, we need to show somebody something, you know, they have to go decide what's the most valid thing to show them. The more information you give them, the more complete you can make those columns in that entry, then you're what do they say, shining above the competition. You're giving them more to work with so they can work with you. Question is, does that make them? Are they obligated? No, but I don't think they go in there very often. As much as people like to think, I don't think any of the platforms go in and hinder. There's just very little reason to hinder. I think most of the hindering comes from people not being aware and using it completely.
And I think that would also help, you know, with like you said, all those columns having different bits of information. You know, you can do even basic Google searches. You know, you can search for just images or just news articles or just, you know, by certain filters. And if somebody picks a filter that, you know, you don't have something fill in that void, then you're just going to be overlooked. And so, you know, that obviously putting more in there is going to help, I think.
And that kind of brings me to something else that has nothing to do with anything except that it's been on my mind because people have been chatting a bunch of different topics in the last week or so, right? Lots of stuff been going on in the last week, actually. And people will be frustrated or whatever, and I'm concerned that there's, you know, we see whenever something big happens in the news that gives us either a black eye or any cause to contemplate, you know, our effectiveness or efficacy or whatever that word is, then what we end up with is it seems that we end up losing advocates. We end up losing people, and it can be frustrating because when it comes to light, and let's say you've been working for, you know, use round toothpicks instead of pointy toothpicks, and you've been going all year for use round toothpicks over pointy toothpicks, and you've got all these good reasons to do it, and it's better for the earth, and little children aren't going to get killed, and eyes don't get poked out, and there's all these better reasons to use the curvy kind of toothpicks instead of the pointy ones. And then something happens, and, you know, everybody decides, you know, there's a big pointy toothpick convention or something, you know. So it can be frustrating when you put a lot of time and effort into something and it doesn't go your way. But if you're truly motivated, if it's truly a worthy effort, then, you know, it's a hurdle, and your goal is much beyond that, right? And, you know, we see this stuff happening in the news, and it's easy for people to go, oh, there's much larger, louder voices are going to be able to dwarf whatever we're doing. But it's that time in between, the 364 other days or whatever it is out of the year, and all the other countries on the planet, all those human beings that populate all those other countries of all the different subsets of those cultures and populations and communities that aren't doing nothing to each other every day that we don't want to forget. And it's that, you know, that makes the countries and the planets and everything work, right? So the media, who's desperately trying to keep our attention and keep control over what we're trying to do out here, is going to focus on these things and exploit them. And we're talking about keywords here, which might not seem pertinent, but you know, we as individuals, it's difficult for any individual to get up there and change immediately, right? So I just want to throw out there that let's not forget that the stuff we're doing in between, this effort that we're putting into little, what might seem like microscopic aspects of it, keywords, and trying to get a little bit more reach with a couple of videos, all that is the stuff that counteracts the bad stuff. And that bad stuff would be overwhelming if we weren't all out there efforting on these platforms that more and more people are using, and we're putting out more and more different kinds of flavor of content. Every time I see more people come into the mix and I check out their channels and see the different way that they're doing stuff, and then 2A is part of it. It's that kind of stuff that happens all the time. That's the barrier. That's the resistance to that tyranny. So anyway, I just want to throw that out there, that these keywords are important. It's worth putting the time into. If you're going to take the time to get the camera and set up the channel and watch and see what people are doing, it's part of the game. Go said it yesterday, right? If you don't, you got to think of it as a bit of a game, and it truly is. I mean, it's not necessarily consequential to the essence of your channel if every video has the best tags or not, but it's such a little simple thing. We're talking about it a lot, and if it's a new concept, it might seem like a new language, but once you've done it, it's just like, I don't know, what is it like playing with something while you're riding a bike? Like, once you know how to ride a bike, you're already thinking about the next thing. You're not thinking about how to stay up on the bike. And once you get the keywords going, our conversations will get into nuance and strategy and playing around with them and stuff. But some of this basic stuff, I know it might sound a little tedious and pointless when we've got the news shouting in our ears about all these inaccuracies and fallacies and stuff. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. What do you guys think?
I started off with just doing one video, this morning, and by the third or fourth video, which I only did a handful, but it was plenty. It was, like you said, it felt more like a game, that it was kind of like a trick, not a trick as in, swindling somebody, but it felt like I don't know, like a game, I guess. I can't explain it any different than that, but it felt easier, and then it started to click a little bit easier and quicker by the third or fourth video. So I mean, now I'm already thinking of the next week's video, what I'm going to do and how I'm going to lay it out, because it'll flow easier now that I've got things lined up. So I'm glad I did it, because otherwise, I mean, yesterday morning I was lost, and just doing it one day, taking the time to spend on it, which was kind of nice, but I think it's worth it.
Go ahead, Coach.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to throw out there that kind of shows a little bit of light again. Since Patriots in the dark, he's always throwing light. Throwing some light on one of those tedious little aspects that gets no love. Nobody wants to even talk about it because it's almost inconsequential. It's just a task, right? And it's not even it's not a crucial task for sure. Maybe priorities, and who knows where it is necessary wise, but that kind of thing where you have to sit down and manicure a channel. I don't care how many videos you got, when you're doing it, cutting and pasting and going through, that's the kind of junk that you're not creating a new video that day. You're not looking what's going on, and then you may not even be in a live chat. So that's the boring little side stuff that nobody wants to talk about, nobody is aware of, and it's not a big deal, but I'm just throwing it out there. You multiply that times all the other little tiny tasks you got, and these things become kind of a burden sometimes. So hopefully this is sharing this stuff, and I guess putting in perspective how important some of this stuff is relatively, or unimportant it is, might get people on board. Because if we're just always talking about this stuff, like, oh, there's another vitally important aspect of it, like you got to know this part of it, might sound taunting. I mean, this stuff is icing on the cake. You can do the videos raw. You don't have to worry about any of this stuff for sure, and you're still going to reach people. This is just how to make it cook a little bit longer once you've made it.
Yeah, and I think that playing the game is part of what YouTube wants a little bit. I mean, if YouTube's algorithm or YouTube itself didn't care about titles, tags, descriptions, they wouldn't give you the option of giving them. If they didn't care, they weren't useful, they'd just say, upload your video, put a title, and you're done. But they give you these spaces to put descriptions and to put tags. So obviously to YouTube, they're using that. So when you put a title in there, it goes into their database, into the title section, and then the description, they have keywords in there. And obviously YouTube's algorithm is searching these things, or they wouldn't give you the opportunity to put them. So if they're giving you the opportunity to put them in there, you might as well utilize them as much as possible, because this is just me. I would imagine that they would give priority to people that are at least trying to do it how they would like for it to be done, or the right way, or in the best way. So if you just put in 2 tags and a 1-sentence description and a 3-word title, they're going to say this video is lazy. They're not even trying. But if you go in there, you make sure that you're doing a title right, a nice description, and you're using, at least 400 characters of the 500. I would like to believe that the algorithms are saying at least this person is trying to do it the best way. So let's try to help them out a little bit. So maybe I'm naive about that, but I'm thinking if they're giving you the opportunity, then you might as well utilize that opportunity.
Oh, no, I think you're 100% correct. I just don't think that they're penalizing as much as if you don't if you don't put handles on your container, then how can they carry it for you? Like they'll put it in the truck, but if you don't put labels on it, how can they deliver it to anybody, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't think they're penalizing you, but I think I would like to believe that they're helping.
Effectively, you're penalizing yourself. It's like if you don't know the rules to your sports and you're just running around like a spaz out there. Like, yeah, you're playing a game, I guess, but you're not helping anybody. You're just doing it.
You're not playing the same game that everybody else is playing, or whatever, Yeah, it's just for me. I think that I enjoy that side of it. And maybe I'm a little nerdy in that, but I enjoy the game. But I enjoy, and I'm going to give a little secret here. And Patriot, feel free to, if you can use this. I think it's called rapid tags or something like that. But just do a Google search for YouTube keyword generator, and there's one you can go into. I think it's called rapid tags, and I use this every now and then if I can't think of enough tags myself, and just put in like 1911 field strip and search, and it'll come up with 20 or 30 different tags for you. You can copy and paste those and put them right in, and they're usually pretty accurate towards your theme. So if you find yourself like only at 200 characters and you want more, go find a keyword generator, and you can just put whatever your video is about. Like a 1911 field strip, and it'll give you tags for you.
Because I looked up a couple of those apps that you guys were talking about last night, and I got one of them, and I was able to log in, but then it just disappears, as far as being accessible. So
this one, and I don't know, and I don't know if rapid tags. I think it's one I used to use, or I still use every now and then. But it's like rapid tags, and it's free. You just click it and you put in what's your video about, and you can put like 3 or 4 words about a description of your video real quick, and it'll generate tags. They're usually pretty accurate.
Right.
But I think, like I said, I talk to people quite a bit that I don't know. I'm not going to say they're lazy. I just think that they don't know where to go, so they don't ask, so they just give up. The biggest thing that you can do is not ask. There's someone out there that's doing something right. And I ask people all the time. I'll go on these creator videos and these live chats, and I'm the only probably gun channel in these things. You go somewhere with makeup and all this stuff, and I'll just sit there and ask questions and listen to what they're saying. And you can pick up. It doesn't matter what niche you are. The successful channels have a formula, and you just got to figure out what's right, the right formula for your videos.
So you talked to Patriot about using a keyword, not just a generator, but a thing that gives you a little more insight than just similar
like
keywords.
Optimizer.
So I guess an optimizing would be, I forget the word you said, but basically instead of just saying here's
warning wave or whatever,
that are similar, here's words that are similar but searched for often, which is insight, right? What I'll do, just from the olden days, is use the engines. So I'll go to name a couple, whatever the popular search engines are for the kids, and even the Instagram, right? And then type in something, and it'll start to autocomplete. So you'll type in, whatever it is, it'll start to autocomplete stuff. And the more closely you get to what you're trying to type, it'll give you more accurate autocompletes, right? As it, as you type, it'll show up below there. So those autocompletes aren't random. Those autocompletes are the current closest things. They're anticipating what you're going to type, and those literally, if they're showing up in autocompletes, that's what people are looking for, like right now. So that's what I always used to use. So I would just go in and, like you say, 1911, and then space and see what comes up. Now, if it has
I do that on YouTube, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. YouTube, Google, Instagram, anywhere, and you'll like I say, you'll see different results because they are all owned by people with agendas, and they build algorithms however they want. And if they want to tweak a little thing that says, like, for example, what was the word dyes Clover liked to use a lot? Dye. That means a lot of different things. Dye for clothing, dye for machining. The reloading dyes is what we would think of it as, and then all the other words for it. So when they come in and algorithm decides when people are searching for dyes, now there's probably about 4 different levels. And Chris could see here, but basically they could say, gun's the last thing. No one's ever going to look for gun, and just that little agenda-based decision is going to influence a lot of stuff out there. And we can get into that sometime, I suppose. But anyway, I was just going to throw out there that there are lots of ways to get keywords, and you can also just maybe this is another way I've mentioned it for getting ideas for your chats and stuff. If you're creating content and you're looking for something to do, but go type that into YouTube and see what kind of videos come up. So again, 1911 field strip, it may or may not get a bunch of similar ideas or suggestions for something that specific, but I'll bet you a whole bunch of people made videos, and see what the titles of their videos are. Sort the videos by most viewed, and that gives you an idea of what's worked for them. Maybe it had something to do with keywords, not always, but that's part of making it a game, making it a little bit another level of, maybe you're bored of the video production end of it, and you can do that in your sleep, and you're not getting much thrill out of the whatever, adding stuff to your video. Your finished product isn't looking for stuff floating around or flashy transitions, so you're done. You've exhausted your interest in that part of it, but you still are interested in your content, and you wanted to get it, to keep working on it. You want to put time into it. It might be something like that you go to occasionally.
I tell you, a thing that I do, kind of going on what you're saying, is let's say a 1911 field strip, and you type in that search into YouTube, and like you said, it comes up with all these videos. I'll go to the most viewed videos, and I'll click on them, and I'll go look at their tags and see which tags they're using, and they might have a tag that I wouldn't even thought about. Like, oh, that's a great one. I didn't even think about that. There might be a video that has 200,000 views, and they've got 400,000 subscribers. But what if you find a video's got 200,000 views and got 6,000 subscribers? Well, something's happened with that video. It's gone viral somehow. So I'll go in and look at their data, see what they used for their tags, for their description, for this, that, and the other. And you can utilize that as well. I mean, it's not stealing, but I mean, everyone who's successful takes bits and pieces from everyone else. And it's just one of those things where, why wouldn't you utilize another video that is successful, that's doing the same topic,
I mean, I hear what you're saying. It's as close to stealing as seeing some lane of traffic is going faster and you go into that lane. I mean, that's
exactly.
It's mostly just following what's working. Like, it's like fishing.
Exactly.
It's not really stealing to notice that worms are hitting and not, lures or something.
And if nothing else, worst case scenario, it just gives you some ideas of what they're doing, and that's always learning something.
And that's where I was going to kind of transition, because talking about it, like, play games with it, it's not like a nerd game of like crosswords or something where you have to like study. It's not some game where it's like all difficult. The neat thing, and it's difficult to describe, I guess, because I remember I'm sure we could probably still have conversations with people that just don't quite get keywords yet. Like, it's just, the word is used to encompass too much stuff, and it has too broad of a reach. So when we use it in the context of Instagram, and we use it in the context of YouTube, and we use it in the context of Facebook, there's nuance there that those of us that are familiar enough with the platforms just automatically flipped from version to version, right? I guess it's like if we're talking about a magazine release, right? And, we all know what that means. But if we're talking about a 1911, we all know exactly what that means. And we know that it's different than a Beretta magazine release, but it doesn't come up in the conversation because we're not talking about it, that all that stuff. And I think that's kind of the same thing here. We're talking about this because we're focusing on it, but you can have some just plain old fun with it. And there's some other strategies too. We've talked when we get into actually, we're basically having the discussion tonight again, but in Clover's chats before, people have brought up the idea of putting like URLs into the tags on YouTube, which might seem pointless because they're not.
I always do that,
linked,
yeah.
But because it adds that uniformity, I guess, or consistency to all your own videos, and then gets your URL out there. But you can do the same thing with something funny or something, like we do with the joking with the 9mm or the pancakes or the hot dogs, or just playing around. And what that ends up doing is, number one, it's not robotics. I mean, the robots we're doing this to feed robots, but the robots are doing our bidding, so we can make the robots dance as well. So, we're programming this because we want, we're in effect programming our stuff so that it works the way we want, but it doesn't always have to be for some like Tetris game, most of the time it's for some Tetris game so we can get our stuff is in front of as many people as possible. But sometimes we just want to get our stuff together, right? So we'll use like the hashtag 2000, or what do we use? Hashtag 2A Patch Batch 2019 for, the campaign we just finished. And that's a way that we can use hashtags. I guess it's not super fun or anything, but it's a way that we utilize the tech of hashtags, or the way that they work, to gather all our stuff together. So now, a bunch of people working together use that hashtag. Now that, the platforms created a place for us because of the way hashtags work, where we were able to gather all our stuff. And our channels don't have to necessarily be all like on Facebook. We would have all had to join a group, and then all the stuff would have been accumulated in a group. And then the only way people would have found it is if they either found the group or we all shared it and stuff. So this way, the stuff is just, shared or gathered together in a way. And we've done that on large scale with the gun channels hashtag. Massive number of images and content gathered together with that hashtag. So that's some other ways that it's not just all a constructive, effort to get to the search engines or to the recommended views and stuff.
Well, it's like with with Patriots EDC challenge, hashtag EDC challenge. On Instagram, you can follow specific hashtags. But like you said, if you're doing a project and you want people to use this specific hashtag, it is a great way where you can create a playlist. If everyone who's involved, multiple channels, use that one specific hashtag in the description or the title or a tag, and you're allowed to search that, that's a way to create a playlist with over multiple channels just using a hashtag. So if it does that on YouTube, that's being archived somewhere else on the web, not just on YouTube. So it's a searchable term on Google or whatever. So yeah, I mean, utilizing different keywords or hashtags or whatever you want to use, it creates this group or a playlist or whatever you want to call it, and it's a searchable group. And if there's more people using that specific hashtag, then that hashtag, your video itself might not trend. But what if that hashtag starts trending? And now every time that hashtag's pulled up, now your video is part of that group. Well, that might help your video grow as well.
Yeah, I've tried using that in like the blind challenge, the EDC challenge, and Defend Liberty project, just because it makes it easier for me. Because especially like on YouTube, you can just go down to the comments. If you use it in the comments, all you have to do is click it, and it pulls all of them up just automatic.
Pulls up all the videos.
Yeah.
Every video that uses that hashtag, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So now, somebody used the hashtag in the chat out here. Will it work in the comments on a live one?
I'm possibly when you watch it. I've never done it in the live chat.
If it allows you to click it, it should.
Yeah. If like my pinned comments under a a video or whatever, I'll put in hashtag Defend Liberty Project, and so if you click that, then anybody that uses that, or my updates or whatever, you just click it and then it'll pull it up as a list. So that's why I tried doing that. Even if you say something, you just throw it at the very end. It's puts it up
Well,
there.
like I did a video yesterday for the EDC challenge, and my title was hashtag EDC challenge response to Patriot in the Dark, whatever. But that hashtag in my title is clickable. If you click that hashtag, it'll pull up every video that's used that same hashtag.
Wasn't that the Gun Channel's shout out? I mean, that was last year, whatever.
Yeah.
Where you would, put it in somebody's video that you wanted to call out, look at this person. You go to their video and put that hashtag in there, and then it would pull up anybody that was new. Then you could find them, and then you check them out or whatever.
Hey, G, so like right there on your screen, right below your screen, you have those two hashtags that you've used.
Now those are
Click
hashtags in the description. So I have one here in the description.
Right. But click on one of those, and it should
Yeah, I know.
pull up all. Yeah, okay.
Just that I'm just showing the people that we're talking about all this. So if somebody's
Oh,
watching,
I got you. I got you.
So I wrote a description, and most of it's boilerplate, meaning in my channel setup, this description is good. This same description shows up whenever I create a live stream. So I usually go in and edit it down a little bit, but I didn't this time. So in that description, there are two hashtags, and YouTube now, just in the last few months, I think, really, it started to gather them up here. So that's how they got here. I didn't put them here as much as put them in the description. They got transferred up here. And what, it'll put 3 here, I think, if I had 3?
Yeah, the first three hashtags that are in your description will pull up.
Oh, okay. So it's the first 3. That's good to know, too.
Yeah.
So then, like Go said, if I click on hashtag Daily Gun Show, it'll now bring up a list of that stuff on YouTube. It's not telling me how many, but amazingly, it's specific to the show. So it's basically bringing up the show. And it doesn't look like it's bringing them up. Well, it kind of is bringing them up in order, I guess. So it's bringing them up chronologically. I can probably filter or whatever. But yeah, if we had something more broad, right, I guess Showdown, that's kind of a weird one. So that's going to find all kinds of weird stuff. But that's what it's all about, right? Now, somebody types in Showdown for whatever reason. Like you guys said, maybe something happened. Somebody made a new T-shirt. There's a new soda pop or whatever. And they type in Showdown. Well, now they're going to see the Daily Gun Show there. Whatever else might show up that's 2A. Another Daily Gun Show. Oh, it's because I put show in every. Anyway.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. Once again, I mean, if you utilize, I mean, it sounds funny and it sounds just simple, but if YouTube started doing this little hashtag several months ago, that they didn't do that just to do that. They did it for a reason on their side. So utilize it because it's a catalog. You know, they're giving you a way to catalog a hashtag. And like you said, if you can get, 2A patch 2019 and everyone's using that's doing videos, well, that hashtag might start trending. And for some reason, if people are trending on a hashtag, then if you use it one of your videos, then your video is a part of this trending hashtag. So you might as well use it if they're allowing you to do something, use it because they're doing it for a reason, typically. On Instagram, I follow hashtags on Instagram. So if anyone puts a picture out there and utilize the hashtag concealed carry, it pops up on my Instagram feed. I might not follow that channel, but I follow that hashtag, and you'll be amazed at how many channels I've found putting some really cool content on Instagram just by following hashtags. Pretty cool.
And that's, you're using it for, I guess, like you say, like maybe your interest or to discover new channels, right? And because you're interested in the topic, of course. But think about all the, I don't know, anybody out there who might have business or political interest in following a hashtag. By utilizing that, being aware of it at least. And I'll put some silly hashtags in. and I'll put a lot of specific ones in. I don't utilize it enough, but putting in some general ones, gun control might seem kind of, you know, bland or too broad. But again, if there's a news person out there or someone doing some research and they don't know a channel, they're not in the community, they're not a fan of individuals, they're just interested in topics, and they're not following channels, you know, they're not following individual content, they're following topics, then yeah, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
Well, just think about what you just said right there. If you use the hashtag gun control, you would think that the majority, probably the vast majority of people that follow gun control are anti-gun. But if you're putting pro-gun content out there and you use that and they're following that hashtag, then your video or your picture will come up in their feed. And what if you have a piece of, you know, media that might change their mind? They would have never found you or even thought about what you're trying to say, except for that hashtag popped up on their screen. That's a cool, interesting experiment, you know.
And we've been talking about press releases, and that's got me in this, you know, they had that stuff in my thinking, and more and more I've been thinking about that the people that are not in the know but are tasked with discovering, you know, either for like I say, a political thing or a news thing, I guess would be the most important for us, or maybe even research, some kind of educational thing. Anyway, they're tasked
researchers for
research
sure.
or whatever. Yeah, being persistent and having good content in a broad one like that, or whatever, getting in their Rolodex, I guess is what I'm getting towards. You know, the more, again, if they're not following the community, they're not aware, their only experience is through the topics, hashtag through the topic. Yeah, that could be, again, outreach, I guess, a way to offer your insight or your opinion or whatever to somebody who might be interested in it. Yeah, it's neat.
That goes back with those tags that were the random ones that I had in my videos or whatever. I did, you know, the common sense and, you know, gun safety, which, you know, obviously, you know, some of the videos that involves what I'm doing, but, you know, that again, that's what they use on the other side.
And I wouldn't get rid of those. I mean, I'm not sure. I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you did or not, but I'd keep those in there. And you know what? Put those as your channel tags, also. You know, something like that. You know, so that, you know.
Yeah.
Take back the hashtags. We've done that successfully, often, you know, multiple times. I would almost say often at this point. There's a lot of half-assed like attempts to start some stupid campaign against rights, and they don't know what they're talking about sometimes, especially on Instagram. I can think of a couple. Even Snoop Doggy Dog lost a hashtag. I'm reloading. No, wait, I'm unloading. Remember that one? Hashtag I'm unloading. Let's search that one. I guess I could right now. But
yeah, there's been a bunch of them that you know, the community has flipped over the years. You know.
Yeah, flipping. That's the best way to say it. So let's do a tactical pop quiz. So Patriot, you get to pick one of the panels here. We've got 5 panels, and I took a bunch of patches. Here's a pile of patches I took and stuck them onto 5 different panels. And
number 4.
That would be this one. And then I guess I have to come up with some sort of a question. So I also have to get my YouTube chat going. So I lost my YouTube chat. So then we'll be watching the Gun Channel side here, and I guess also the YouTube side. And the first one to respond accurately with the quickest answer and the most, okay, so if, how am I going to put this? I'm also wasting time so I can get my countdown timer. The question is going to be name a guest on someone's channel, but you'll get extra points if it's the most recent guest. Does that make sense? So in other words, if there's a couple of answers all at once, even if the one answer is technically first answered, but if somebody else can come up with a more recent guest, So there'll be a little bit of nuance to it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I mean, you're saying if there's 2 or 3 answers that are
Correct.
within a few seconds of each other, you're going to go with the one that's the most recent.
Exactly. So that this way,
Gotcha. Okay.
you don't necessarily, you're not going to win just by being first. You're going to have to kind of be hip and aware of the recent guests on Ghost Tactical show.
Oh, I like it.
You can't play Ghost.
Yeah, Ghost can't play.
Damn it.
So now we'll be watching the comments. If you're listening to this on a podcast, we're watching the comments. Forgot her name. There you go. That's not accurate enough, though. I don't believe he had the number 42 on as a guest recently. It was a while ago.
Recently, yeah.
Ghost does have guests, yes,
Yeah.
occasionally.
And I don't count because that was the first one.
Yeah, me and Ghost and Mike don't count. Or me and Clover and Ghost don't count. What the hell? Me and Clover and Mike don't count.
Yeah, you're on every week, so.
Dano Plato?
I would love to get Dana, but she doesn't know who I am.
Got nothing on the Gun Channel side. Clover's out there. He's going to try to sneak in.
Pretty sure Dana Plato's dead.
Notice how he just doesn't jump in the chat until the tactical quiz so that he can try to win. But technically not being
Funny how that happens. That leprechaun, man, you got to worry about those guys. You know, Sunday's St. Patrick's Day, so he's all magical.
MW Tactical does not count. We already said that. Carrie Sloan, unless we get another answer. This time, so we got an answer. I'm going to let the clock run out this time. So if we don't get another one.
I had a bunch of different guests this past week.
Skip's Tactical was before or after Carrie?
That was Tuesday.
That was just last Tuesday.
Yeah.
So Skip's been on more than once.
She has, but she was on last
Clover
week.
said it on
This
the
week.
Gun Channel side, though. Clover said it on the Gun Channel side, and Gun Channels is always going to take precedent. And he's cheating because he was on that show. But
he was on that show.
It still counts. So, like we've been doing lately, Clover will win, or has won, but he's also going to be playing with a Patreon supporter. So I'm going to go over. I am at an unprecedented record number of Patreon supporters at 207. Thank you very much to all 207 of you. I think
That's
2 of you are in here right now. And I'm going to try to figure out with the new stupid Patreon, which is broken. I hate the new Patreon. I can't figure out. Do you guys know how to see anybody else's posts on Patreon without going specifically to their channel anymore?
No. I'm not a big fan of the new update.
Driving me nuts. So anyway, I think I found. Did I? No, I didn't. 454. It's crazy. This is everybody that I've ever had as a Patreon, I guess. Go to here maybe. Sorry, the thing has changed. I need to find wherever it says whatever last month was. Is it under manager now?
I think it's under manager,
I found it, yep. Okay, so 194. That's what I'm looking for. So there was 194.
Now he jumps in. Now that he's won, he jumps in. Go figure.
Oh, he wasn't technically on the panel yet, so.
Yeah. Just because St. Patrick's Day is Sunday doesn't mean you're magical right now.
See, I thought the question was about your podcast.
Well,
yeah, it could have been that also.
Been guest on post show, so if he has more than one show, is a thing. All right, so I got the random thing. What I say, 194? 194.
You notice he's not even saying anything either. He jumps in on the panel, but hadn't said hello or nothing yet.
Y'all are busy.
Oh, so I guess, yeah, it doesn't do any good. But since you're in here, you can pick the top or bottom. Should I go from the top of the list or the bottom of the list? I'll have you ask.
I get to pick the top or bottom?
Yeah, because you're picking the person you're playing with or for.
Let's go bottom.
Okay, now I'll hit the button. So he had no way to know if he's, is it's going to be a big number or a small number. Mm-hmm. And it's a big number, 135. So I have to figure out how to count 135 from the bottom, which is basically
subtract
29 from the top.
Yeah.
All right. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There goes Patriot. 14, 16, 18, 20, 2, 4, 6. Oh, there's Christelle. Enrique Sonora, friend of mine in Tucson here.
All
So you'll be playing for Enrique out there. You'll pick a patch. Enrique will get a mad pile of stuff from the Gun Show Loophole Tour and some of the stuff I've been playing with plastics lately. And where did I put the picture? There it is. So Patriot picked this panel for you.
Well, let me ask a question. Can I donate my patch to Enrique?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. But I get to pick it, so that's cool. Let's see.
Yeah.
What do we got?
He probably already has a Cody Firearms Museum, FYI. He might already have some of mine.
Yeah, probably yours. Yeah. Wait, wonder if he's got that airborne up there.
Yeah, that one probably not. I got that one at a surplus store in.
Okay.
Is that a Red Dawn on the bottom? Is that what that is?
The Wolverine one?
Wolverine? Is that what that is? I can't see them on my phone.
Yeah, that's the Wolverine squared one.
Oh, okay.
It
looks like the old Red Dawn, Wolverine thing. So I guess that's what it's called, the Wolverine patch. Good job.
Well, it's Wolverine doing that, yeah. So Wolverine
okay. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Cool. So yeah, I got a couple of those, and actually I'll find out. I don't know if he's watching right now or not. I'll find out if he wants a tan one or a green one. So I think I got him in both. So right on. So it's something we've been doing to keep the Tactical Pop Quiz evolving. And thanks to the people on Patreon who are making it easier, giving me more time to do it. Probably going to do a show on my new Patreon tweaks because Patreon ruined the platform by making it stupid, at least as far as being able to see what other people are doing, which really is frustrating. But I also had not changed my main page on Patreon at all. Actually, I guess I'll talk about it right now since I'm talking about it. So go back to screen sharing here. So Patreon, I think it's a valid platform. I think it's a useful concept to be able to have a bunch of people contribute financially to the creation of content, and specifically 2A content. And anyhow, we've talked about that plenty of times, but I haven't really changed my main page up very much. So I stuck this picture up because I was playing with some art and kind of putting together a bit of a resume to try to pump up my Patreon thing. So I'm thinking, we're in 2019, we're well into 2019. And in past years, I've been an advocate of gun shops and museums and, knowing history and knowing where we got to here so that we don't repeat things that are unnecessary and we don't overlook important things in the past and whatnot. But I'm thinking as we get into 19 and 20, we're going to want advocates, and we're going to want the tools and communication as much as possible, get us as much strength as possible going into 2020. So I'm going to focus I'm going to put some of those projects aside, focus on the advocacy and on the education and on the awareness. I'm going to shoot for a goal of 3,500 to basically cover my bills so I can do this full time. And I don't know. I'm just basically going to put it out there. You've seen what I've been able to do with like one hand tied behind my back part time. Step aside and let me do this full time. So anyway, if a bunch of people throw $5 at me, that's possible. And I'm going to try to tweak the page a little bit to show people that, this is a time to do it. If you want to consider it a 2-year thing, $60 for 2 years, $120. And if at the end of all that, it wasn't worth it, let's talk about refunding your money. But let's see what happens if I don't have to worry about getting up every morning and figuring out if I have money and trying to do what people consider e-bagging. All that stuff's been constructive. I don't think I've done it in a bad way, but let's see what happens if we can actually do stuff like the 2A patch batch multiple times before the Gun Rights Policy Conference. If the Gun Rights Policy Conference is attended by people who have otherwise been unaware of it, and anyway, what we can do. So that's why I'm going to try to tweak my Patreon a little bit. And I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah,
I like it.
I think you get a lot.
I love it when I would love to see what happens when you. I love it when you are less stressed out financially because your juices flow so much more. Because you're not stressed out thinking about other things. You've got all your time and effort to focus on being creative, and that's when I really enjoy what you do because you're just free flowing at that point. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, we've got so many people out there that are doing stuff, and I'm frustrating to sit in a chat and hear people go, "We should try this," or "We need to all get together and do this," and I'm pulling my hair out, going, "There's 4 people doing that. That's been done. This is the 3rd year they're doing that." That kind of thing.
Mhm.
So this is a good time to re-emphasize on the concepts of the every second matters. The patriots in here right now. I think your concept is freaking beautiful. Everybody take the challenge to literally the personal challenge to know what affects you, and then to put that into something, create something, and then share that, and then use the next step in your challenge to present that to someone in real life, like your politicians, and then to, well, I guess you didn't say politicians, maybe you did put politicians, I forget, but you just said to your friends, and in a liberty framework, in a context instead of just a gun context, and to get people motivated and to share, so that together we accumulate a bunch of people's versions of that, right? And that's what inspires and encourages people to contribute to that. And that kind of wave, it's that concept that no single drop thinks it's responsible for the flood. I dare any of those people who would suggest that none of this is worth the effort, or that this is all a bunch of bells and whistles. I challenge any of them to tell me what it would be like if literally everybody who's watching pick a thing, actually efforted towards that. And that was actually, it's something that was happening. Political strategists are aware of things like that. So I think that effort is super valuable.
Do you want a Patreon tip, G?
Sure.
Okay. You still got your screen up?
Yeah, let me jump back over time.
You don't have to screen share or nothing if you don't want, but so you've got your little icon in the top right corner. Hover over it. Now go down to post from my creators. And oh snap.
That's what I've been looking for. So they moved it on me. Yep. Right on. Thank you. Okay, good. Because this is the best part of Patreon, to see what people be doing.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. It's never been over there. So I
never have to hover it. If you click it, don't work.
Oh. Well, I use this to switch out because I got 2 accounts. So I'm constantly going over here to switch it. Yeah. But it's always ever just been like your change your personal
settings and stuff. Yeah.
So I try to go over like this, and because this page used to be just clicking this. That's why it's driving me nuts, because this was just Patreon. You can't even look. If I try to go to just Patreon now, because of cookies, it takes me to my own stupid channel. And if I don't go to my own channel, if I log out of Patreon, then I don't know who I'm subscribed to. I'm subscribed to like 200 people or something. So thank you. Yeah. So yeah, post from my creator. So anyway, I try to go through, I do it daily if I can. I mean, I try to do it as often as possible though, and show people appreciation over here using these tools, using the internet versus watching television is how we tell the platforms that we appreciate and the platforms that we're utilizing. That's how we interact with the tools. So I know it gives the human beings on the other end some, like, oh, there's somebody there. Thank you. Yankee probably don't care. But everybody else, there's somebody out there. But it's also, I'm clicking on Yankees. He doesn't know I'm clicking on that. It's because I want this engine, the robots that look at all the little tubes behind all this, to know that these are the things that are valid. Anyway, thanks. I appreciate that. I've been asking for that for a couple of days now. I got a whole bunch to do. I haven't done that in like 4 days.
Yep.
All right, we were talking about hashtags. All came out of your show, so you're the to blame for all that. Anybody that didn't like the hashtag talk earlier? I don't know how much of that you listened to or whatever. We were basically, I think we elaborated from yesterday. I don't think we backtracked too much, but I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I was listening to most of it. It was a good conversation, what I heard.
So he was out there just waiting for the tactical pop quiz. You're right, G.
Working on some stuff. But I kind of figured that G-Webs would do the thing where I got, he picked a patron, and so I was like, I'll go ahead and play, and if I win, well, I can just maybe I can send the patch to the patron. Those guys, I'm fond of my patrons and anybody else that supports people over there, and they deserve a little something every now and then.
So Enrique is pretty cool. He's out here in Tucson, and from back in the YouTube days. So before all this stuff, before gun channels, there was still community, and it started probably in 10 or 11. It started in 10 or 11, and Enrique was already one of the people who I recognized, with 106, well, at the time, probably 120,000 subs. There's no way to know everybody. Probably, I don't know where the number is, but he was one that I recognized the name, and he was from Tucson. So a guy named Chester Manning was running for sheriff here in Tucson, and our sheriff is a Democrat, but he's cool with NFA stuff. So it was sort of a tough election because mostly it's Democrats in Tucson get elected. So he was running as a Republican, and as you might expect, a Republican from Arizona running for sheriff as a what do you call it, a fundraiser. He had a friend of his, a mutual friend, I like to say, who is he does foreign weapons familiarization for the Marines. So I'm not sure if Ghost might not know the guy, but anybody, I think people that are being deployed, or maybe certain units being deployed overseas that are going to need foreign weapons familiarization, this guy will go with his, let's just say, very impressive assortment of full auto firearms that might be found in any theater of operation anywhere on the planet, and lets the Marines figure them out, shoot them, figure them, learn them, and he took that same set of firearms out to a range here in Tucson, and for I think it was like $10 or whatever, some nominal amount of money, you got like a big baggie of ammunition, and you'd go load the magazine on whatever gun it was, and an experience that is unlike anything you can imagine, because it wasn't you walk up and there's all kinds of ropes and safety apparatuses, and they give you the magazine and they give you the gun. It was more like you took the bullets out of your baggie, so they're just doing it on cheap. So you take the bullets out of your baggie and you load your own magazine, which is an experience. And if you haven't loaded a crazy mil-spec magazine before, some crazy 9mm garbage or some weird Cold War thing, you haven't had the experience of really destroying your thumbs. And then you get the satisfaction after that to blow it out of there as fast as possible through a full auto. And that was an awesome event. There was a couple of those. And Enrique showed up with his kid, and we were filming videos, and his kid held the camera, and he's in a bunch of the videos from back then. So that's when I first, I think, met Enrique. And then each time there's been a 2A, what do you call it, like rally. He drives from Phoenix, or from Tucson up to Phoenix, often with his kid to attend. So good guy. Been a supporter of Gun Channel since the beginning. And I don't think he's out there tonight.
Yeah, I haven't seen him.
All right. So anything I should look for at the gun show this weekend? I would say fellow like-minded people, start some conversations, look for conversations, look for opportunities to drop some bombs on some FUDs, or people that would generally be considered funds. Some that might, what was the word? What would be the word? Some who might identify as FUDs. But it's our concert, right? It's our version of getting together. So look for loot, but look for opportunities to start conversations and get people active. And if there's pamphlets or something, pick them up and take a picture of them, post them on Instagram. If there's like an event coming up, or a shoot, or some sort of a fundraiser, take a picture, make sure it's okay, take a picture, and you post that stuff. We talk about reposting, sharing, liking. That works for real life stuff too. I try to post every time there's some kind of a turkey shoot or some sort of a scholastic shoot that I see on a piece of paper taped to a door or something at a gun shop.
Yeah, I do. I do the same thing pretty regular. I don't on Instagram, but I'll do it on Facebook for local stuff.
Well, I do it on Instagram too, just because especially we're talking about tags, right? That's a specific use of tags. So if I'm, let's say, reposting, I don't know, a Kalashnikov event that's happening in Texas, because you got one coming up, I think on the 23rd or something.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'll be sure to type in like Kalashnikov, Texas, or Texas shooting event, or Texas range or something. And again, what everybody was saying about people that might be searching hashtags or just searching for a topic, because really you type in Texas shooting Instagram at least will tell you channels that might be named that, hashtags, and then something else, right?
Yeah. Right.
It's actually a pretty decent search. I mean, it's not great for archiving. It would be better if they gave us like a version of a playlist or something, better than what they give us. But as far as searching for something specific, you can at least get to the pile that your thing might be in.
Right.
There's just no way to actually sort once you're in that pile.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's for Instagram. The whole concept of Instagram is that stream, right? Is that flow. So it's not really set up to go back and rehash stuff and relook at stuff. It's one of them things. Kind of once you throw it out there, it's in the current, right?
You down for getting nerdy? So I agree with you. Now, forums are kind of both. Forums are rivers that flow into lakes, and it's like a dam. They don't ever empty the lake. So it's like it can't, well, I guess every once in a while a forum will run out of money or something and they'll drop their old posts. But for the most part, it's a constant new conversations that accumulate, and they're left there in fairly easy to navigate archives. You can go through topics and threads and find stuff, even if it's years old. And then, more importantly, the search engines know about that stuff.
Yeah.
So getting to the nerdy question here, let's say you post a video about XYZ gun thing, 1911. And then that was 10 years ago. And you put that and somebody posted on a forum, or you did, doesn't matter. It's in a forum that's got 10 years worth of setting there cooking. That's gold. Like, nobody can pay for that kind of PR or page rank, right? That reciprocal link is valuable. So you've got this thing that you created, it has this link to a forum or whatever. I mean, unless I'm wrong, that's got really good value. Do you think that if you post something on Instagram, a link to something, or at least as close as you can to linking to something, basically a non-hypertext link in the description of something on Instagram, and it cooks for however long Instagram's existed, maybe 4 years, do you think it's got anywhere near that same reach, more, or medium? Or what's the spectrum? Do you think it has less reach, the same, or more reach?
Are you comparing to a forum?
Compared to specifically a forum, or maybe if you want to just be more broad, any other thing besides Instagram?
I think Instagram. That's a good question.
You guys can feel free to jump in. I've thrown it.
Wow, that's a good question. I think that we're still seeing Instagram in its infancy. First of all, we've kind of analyzed the big platforms and stuff before, right? And Instagram is still on an upward trend. So I think we've still got quite a few years ahead of Instagram, and it changing and getting better, hopefully, and that sort of stuff. So like right now, as it stands, I think that for the 4 years, if you just take the 4 years that are in play with Instagram and compare that to 4 years of a forum or something else, yes, I think it probably has more reach. If you're comparing the apples to oranges and saying 4 years of Instagram versus a forum that potentially has been up for 10, 15 years or whatever, maybe not at that point. Kind of depends on the forum, right? But I think that most certainly as Instagram moves forward, I think it'll be a situation to where Instagram will outshine even those that have that legacy power. And it's just because of the sheer number of people on the platform.
So I kind of look at it a little different, because for anybody searching on the internet versus people that are on Instagram, because you can't really, I don't know, you might be able to search in a Google or something and then be drawn over to Instagram, but unless you have an Instagram thing, can you actually see it, or do you need the app? I don't know that, but as far as a forum, I know a lot of old guys that's all they'll ever go to. Not there obviously a finite number of the old guys that only look at the things, but I still think that there's more reach in a forum because you can get there from everywhere. Instagram is, kind of locked in. You have to be either on the app or through that, special place, maybe.
Right.
I don't know. I'm limited on my Instagram thing.
You're 100% correct. I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, there's another layer to it, that since Instagram basically doesn't even allow you to go back more than a way I forget what it is. Like, it kind of depends. But if you went to an Instagram page right now on your computer and started to scroll, it would eventually end, and it would terminate before the end of the account. It would just stop scrolling on a computer, and I forget where that threshold is. So you would physically not be able to find some posts based on just scrolling. You'd have to search for them somehow specifically in order to even find old posts. And you're right, I agree with you on the forums. But I don't know, maybe I'm interrupting Clover because of what he's about to say. But what we're talking about is reciprocal links are on the other side. So the one side of the internet, one side of the paper is all the writing and the stuff that we see, the colors and the links and everything that we see on the internet. On the other side, if you flip that piece of paper over, it looks like when you took an old pinball machine apart or something. There's all these little wires and connectors and things that are code. It's like looking at the Matrix, really. But the way to understand it is a bunch of tubes, just like Al Gore built it. So what we're talking about is reciprocal links, where think of it as like Skynet. It doesn't need to see anything. It knows everything that's on the internet. It doesn't actually need to navigate to or discover, because it's all knowing. That's sort of how the internet is. And when you create reciprocal links, they're not for the human beings. I mean, they can be, but for the most part, that's for the robots that do all the math and say, well, this website is, has all the keywords I want, but it's only got 2 reciprocal links. So only 2 other websites on the internet consider this valid enough to link to it. But this site over here has 1,000 reciprocal links, and those 1,000 are coming from pages that we also find useful. So this must be valid information. And that's the kind of stuff that when we're building the internet for people, we're trying to accomplish that. And what things like Every Second Matters and gun channels are, that's their ulterior motive there, is to build platforms that a lot of people use. Normally people do that to generate income. I'm doing it to build rank so that when we link to stuff from gun channels, it helps those smaller things that we link to. So I guess from that angle, an old Instagram post, and just like somebody was saying in the chats, it's hard to search on Instagram, but those old Instagram posts don't need to be searched for by Skynet. It just knows everything that's on Instagram. Or am I wrong, Clover?
No, I mean, you're right.
So some of this stuff is just like tactics and tricks that we as people that are building stuff online use to build stuff strong.
Right. Now, to answer part of what Patriot was asking earlier about Instagram, I went over to Instagram, logged out, and then I did a Google search, and I'm able to pull Instagram stuff up through a Google search and look at it without having to log in. But here's the key: if you're on mobile, and you was to, let's say, do a Google search and it throw an Instagram post or an Instagram feed or an Instagram hashtag or something at you, I've got a sneaking suspicion, unless you switched over to mobile, desktop browser on your mobile device, it would probably want to open the app. And if you have the app, you have to sign in.
Yeah, or a request that you get the app.
Right.
Because I've done that. I've sent out, like on Facebook, sometimes some of the Instagram things, and then people are like, I can't open that up.
Yeah, but it is pulling it. It is pulling it up through the through Google. So I mean, there are those backlinks and stuff still working there.
Okay.
I eat crayons.
Right.
I have no idea what the fuck you are talking about.
Don't share, huh?
Whatever. Whatever.
I think that it's something that it kind of ties into everything we've talked about tonight so far. Is there are ways to find information through searches, and so if you're putting information out there for people to find, utilize any and all creative ways to get your whatever it is, post, video, whatever it is, visual is in front of many people, and collaborating or reciprocating with other websites and all that. I mean, like I said, the more your stuff shows up in search engines, the better chance that new eyes will find it. And that's what it's all about. I mean, we all love our subscribers, but if you're not trying to get more subscribers, and not just for the ego side, but I'm talking about for subscribers to get your message out to more people, that's the whole point. So you have to utilize any and all, things that you can do. And it is a game. It's very much a game, but I enjoy playing that game, or at least attempting to play that game.
That's a good point. And here's another aspect to that. What you're just saying with the subscribers, you might have, and everyone has this. You'll build some content, and you'll acquire some people that, if you build it on a regular basis, they'll come in and watch your stuff. Right, viewers, audience, whatever you want to call people that watch your stuff. They'll participate or not, but they'll be there. And then whatever your momentum or your goal or whatever it is, and then you might pause because you've attained a level where it's comfortable, or you've got some people to chat about this area of interest or whatever it is. But things change, right? So if you do nothing in your content to foster or at least appeal to the engines, the things that are the platforms that we're putting them on, to play their game a little bit, what happens is, even if you're not, I guess what I'm saying, if you're not actively looking for new people, attrition, is that the right word? Like, will happen, and then you'll be fewer and fewer, and then all of a sudden you'll be like, hey, this isn't the same conversation anymore with only 2 people showing up.
Exactly, and I think,
and then it's tough because then you can't just turn it on. It's a difficult thing to just flip on. You have to, because even like what Patriot was saying, going in and editing all his keywords, that doesn't do anything. Like tomorrow, I mean, that has to take time, and the equation is time. So if you'd have already done all that stuff, the worst that happens is more and more people show up to the conversation. But then at least attrition or whatever happens, and you've got to.
But see, but attrition works both ways. The attritional side of losing subscribers because you're not doing anything is one side. But what happens to those people that start losing subscribers that you talk about? You can't just turn it back on. So what do they end up doing? They quit doing it.
Right, and that's the frustrating.
And that's sad. That's even worse,
Or they changed what they focus on instead of what they.
And we, Clover and I know someone who's doing that as of last week because he's, it's just one of those things.
Oh, I'm pivoting. I was talking about it earlier.
How much is changing the name of his channel, which is crazy,
Nobody listens to this show anymore. Hardly anybody shows up anymore. I expect hundreds of viewers. We only get 20 viewers. So I'm thinking of switching it up to video game toys. So specifically the toys based on video games, right? Not video games. Only toys based on video games. And then toothpaste, but highbrow toothpaste reviews. Not like your budget toothpaste reviews, but like the kind of toothpaste where you'd have your pinky up. Those kind of toothpaste.
Heck yeah. Right.
I think it's untapped. Everybody brushes their teeth. Some people brush their teeth more than once a day.
Right. Yeah.
And not enough people buy their toothpaste on Amazon yet.
Ooh.
There you go.
New thing.
There you go. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be something there, G.
Just the toothpaste thing. I did hear that my mom just bought a bamboo toothbrush.
Oh yeah.
I was at a specialty shop, and she's like, "Oh, because the bristles are longer," and it's just.
I saw a bunch of bamboo stuff in 2010 at that outdoor retailer show, which was sort of like SHOT Show for sporting goods stores, and yeah, there's some really, really neat utensils. I'm just way too cheap to pay for any of it, but there's all kinds of neat bamboo stuff. Like you're saying, brushes. I would have never thought. And the bristles and everything are bamboo, right?
I guess so.
I think so.
I'm unfamiliar with this toothbrush thing. Can you explain? I don't know what this is.
It's that stick. They say to fray the end, and then you just rub on your teeth to scrape your fangs.
Oh. So it's like a tooth massager.
It's a fancy one.
But speaking of teeth brushes, right? I was buying the dog brushes because I think I've said this story. She's gonna insist on shedding twice a year, so I was gonna go to the store buy brushes. They're like $32 for a brush, and they go down to like $9. But the most expensive ones are $32. I can't even imagine. I wouldn't buy a tool for $32. The dog brush is insane. So I go to eBay, and I got. I'm not even exaggerating. I think I got 20. You'll see them because I'll be doing them in Mail Call Mondays. But I got like 20 different styles of brushes, and none of them cost more than $2. They were all like $1 something, and that was shipped, and they just took 14 days. I mean, I don't have them yet. I ordered these all like a week ago, but I paid maybe $24 altogether, and I think I have like 20 of them coming. So got all those. But in the process, I also got those little finger thingies you stick on your finger, and you can brush your dog's teeth with them. And again, if I go to the regular store, big box sucker store over here, they cost money. On eBay, I think I paid $1 for 3. You know,
Yeah, you
like,
gotta love eBay, man. eBay's great, man.
sorry, I cut you off there, Clover.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I mean, eBay, we talk about platforms and all, right? Look how long eBay's been around.
I mean, it's the ultimate garage sale, is it not?
Yeah.
When did you guys start on eBay? I think it was 2000 and no, it was a long time ago.
No, I was potentially in the late 90s.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I might have been.
I don't know when it started, so I hate to say that, but it was pre 9/11. I'll tell you that for sure.
Now, I've had eBay stores, I've had eBay collectors things, I've had eBay pages, I've had eBay some other kind of thing, like you could save other people and then add stuff to it. So I could save friends on YouTube and add their YouTube channels to it. Like eBay as a platform is neat, and you can make money because you sell stuff on it. And that could be literally go into the store and finding something that's a deal and putting it on eBay. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a deal. Sometimes you can just put stuff on eBay and it sells. So all you gotta do is occasionally sell something or buy something on eBay. You get a reputation score. But yeah, like you're saying, how many people have had eBay accounts way longer than they had YouTube accounts or anything else, and they're not utilizing them as for their channels? So flip that eBay name over, especially if you don't care. If you're just buying commodities with it, flip it to your channel name, give it a page, an About Us page that kind of goes along with your project or whatever it is, and then use it as another platform.
Mm-hmm. Well, I just looked it up while you were talking. eBay went live in 1995. Let that sink in. So I'm pretty sure if eBay went live in 95, I was thinking it was pre-2000. I'm pretty sure I was thinking 98 in my head. So I was probably on eBay in 98, most likely.
I remember my wife getting something when my daughter was 2 or 3. So we'll say 99, 2000. She was born in 97. So it was like 99, 2000. She got like some kind of a bed or something she got on eBay or something. And so it was around 99 or 2000 when we got our first thing.
There was like many conversations about, I got that bed on what's the internet. I got this thing from the internet.
Exactly. We were on AOL probably with the dial-up,
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Mine says February 17th, 2003. So that's my second account, which I turned into my business account or whatever. Like my personal account was probably something before that even. So yeah, we've talked about those value of reciprocal links on old platforms. The longer something's on the internet for whatever, just like anything, it must be better because it's still on the internet. It's still valuable, or at least, it's more, tons of search engines know about it. So there's very few things you can put on eBay, really, because like I guess I was saying, it's changed so much over the years. Nothing's there. I mean, nothing about my account is there from 2003, really. But you can keep updating it as they change things, and put links to your websites or links to your channels or your gun channels or your gun streamer or your gun tube. And again, those are creating reciprocal links from, what's eBay? Probably the 5th biggest website still?
Probably, yeah.
It's up there for sure.
Well, I went and looked because I thought about it when you read your date. I'm like, well, crap, I could probably pull my profile up and look.
Yeah, that's all I did.
And I was wrong. March 24th, 1999.
Nice. There's not very many things that you can have since before the 2000s. That's 20 years old on the internet. That's tough.
Yeah, right. And it's changed a lot, big time. But yeah, we talk about the rise and the fall, of the AOLs and the MySpaces and all this other stuff, and how the new things are going to come along. And so far, ain't nothing come along to replace eBay.
Yep.
So I'm looking
I looked up my eBay account, and my current one was 2002.
Wow.
But I had the one that we bought, my daughter's thing. I know that it was prior to 2000 or around 2000. Right. So I was probably using a different one back then. But the first thing I bought in 2000 was on 2002, or on this current
right.
Member, whatever username.
And eBay is one of those ones where if you screwed with it back then, you had to start a new one. So I know a lot of people have back in the day, had to start new eBays, and they would swear about it because everybody was like, and then there was times when people were like, I'm sick of eBay, because eBay was a big thing when it first started, right? It got really big, and there was people that were rallying against the same way they rally against Patreon or YouTube, or rally against Facebook. There was people like, I'm not using eBay anymore. Then 2 years later, they got their account back because you have to use eBay. There was no Amazon back then.
Right.
Yep.
All right, here's the crazy thing. So you want to know the first thing I ever bought on eBay from this username back in 2002?
It tells you?
Yeah, you can go back to previous things and all that.
Cool.
It's a Ralph Lauren sport coat I got for $17.
For like work or something?
Yeah, I had to do something pretty soon or something. I didn't want to, but a polo sport coat, blue sport coat for $17. How awesome is that?
See, I did more selling than I did.
Well, that's what
I've never really done much selling.
Buying.
I'm gonna throw this out
I
there.
do more buying nowadays, but therefore, I've told this story before. There for quite a few years, for 4 or 5 years, probably at least, I would garage sell and auctions and stuff like that, and I would sell the crap out of stuff on eBay.
Well, remember back in 2002, they didn't have the buy it now stuff. So I mean, it was fun. It was an auction, like
Right.
That was the fun part of it.
My brother sold rear ends out of junkyard. He'd go to the junkyard on a weekend and tear out rear ends.
So he's a pimp? What? Oh, rear ends for cars. My bad.
Yeah. You get in trouble if you rip out a regular rear end. So.
I mean,
And he still does it. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, like you said, I mean, you can find anything, I mean, really, you can find almost anything on eBay if you search hard enough. It's the greatest garage sale of all time.
How do you get to the first thing you bought?
On mine, I just said to past auctions.
So I'm going to throw out there for people that are paying attention to our conversation. What year did you start eBay? And then second follow-up question, for those that can go look or remember, right? But then the second follow-up question, would you say you've bought more or sold more overall your whole time on eBay? I'm with Clover. Even with all the stuff I've bought, I definitely sold more on eBay.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I've definitely bought a lot more than sold.
My current account was open last year, and like the first 4 items was all from this place, Gear websites. Seems like that account is just for Pro 2A swag.
Well, and that's an example, right? I have the thing branded so that it incorporates with the store and all that. I figured the gear one because the gun stuff can get banned, workplaces and things like that.
Yeah.
Or at least the website can. So I figured same thing. I don't know what they do for their filtering results or whatever on eBay.
Yeah, I think I started mine in 2000, but I've had several, just changing jobs and emails and all that stuff, back then. But I always bought stuff. I never really sold anything.
2004, 2007, and then one I've never used eBay. Now, let me ask this though: never used eBay yourself, or literally never even had anybody buy something for you on eBay? Because that seems like a long time to go without. There's some things that are just neat on eBay. You would think that at some point you'd have been like, "Hey, you got an eBay account? Grab this for me."
I remember back in the day, and it's kind of a nerdy thing, but going back to the auction thing, I remember, like, if I found something that I was wanting to do, I enjoyed, finding out when that auction ended and like 10 minutes left. That's when all the action was. No one bid on it. It's like the last 10 minutes of the auction. It's like, all right, who's going to be the last one to hit their send button before the second runs out? That was kind of funny to watch.
Back in the day, it was certainly fun before the sniper software, and like you say, when it was really just true auctions. And there was so many people that were like started at a penny and like just real
Oh,
auction.
yeah.
That was like a bragging.
yeah.
I had a client when I was doing websites and stuff, and his whole thing was like he would go to, like Clover saying, like go to garage sales and places and wherever, and he'd get scuba gear and some kind of Rolex or I don't know what kind of watch, and then calculators from like the olden days, like before I was a kid having calculators, so like I don't know 50s, I don't know, old ass calculators. Anyway, he would buy that stuff, and sometimes he'd even just buy the stuff on eBay, and he would. In fact, I learned a lot of my eBay skills from that guy. He would just go on eBay, find somebody who just didn't know what they were doing, sold something, for reasonable or under price because they had a bad, picture or didn't know how to describe it correctly, used the wrong spelling or described it wrong. And, he would be aware, so he'd buy stuff and then resell it. And, definitely made a lot of money doing that.
I remember the days before they really had reserves. Like you almost took a chance that like before they had reserves, you put something out there and it might sell for $1, And when they first came on, you didn't have the option of putting a reserve.
Well, you could
there.
put a start price. Well, the thing is, what I remember is you could put a high start price,
but that cost you something. It would
that cost money. So no one did that. Exactly.
Cost extra.
So you were taking a chance that it might sell for $1.
Yeah.
But like Adam is saying, some of the best auctions, and that's what that guy's philosophy was. He'd start everything at a penny, or maybe he started everything at 99 cents, but he started everything low because I guess the idea is that it would take a couple of bids to get it to like the actual price, the reasonable price. But I guess something about the mind thing there. Now there's people bidding. Like, so somebody comes along and it's the normal retail price, but there's 6 bids. Something, I don't know. But yeah.
Oh yeah, the bidding was part of the fun of buying. So where I would steer the conversation was, does anybody ever use something like Auction Sniper?
Oh, all the time for a while when I was doing computers and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I would use that to. There were a lot of times you would get lots of laptops and lots of computers and lots of computer parts and things like that I would be looking at for the shop. And so I would go in and set them up, and then set my Auction Sniper that, I'm not going to pay any more than the next number of dollars, in there, and just let it run. And if I win, great. If I didn't have to sweat it. And that was great because you didn't have that competitive nature of the, you know what I'm saying, watching the clock and oh man, somebody outbid me. I'm going to go up another $1. I'm going to go up another $1. I'm going to go up or whatever, and then you end up paying too much.
Yeah, exactly. Because you get caught up in it. Now, I would use it for collectible things too, because there was always like you never see this on eBay, or this was, this only comes up every 6 months. So I'm going to try my best to grab this one. But then, like you're saying, we had, let's say we got a batch, we had to do 6 computers or something. So we needed to get like 12 floppy drives or 12 whatever drives or something, RAMs. Those places in Hong Kong or whatever would have, like batch auctions that ended every day, and like suckers would come along and bid on them. But if you just put a sniper on it, on like 3 of them, then like somebody come along and bid on one, somebody come along and bid on the next one against each other, basically, on the first one. And then the guy would come back and bid on the second one because he got outbid by the first one. And then the third one would just sit there and you got it for 1 bid because they were done fighting over it. And you could just, you didn't have to actually fight over some of those auctions, because if you just paid attention, they did them every day at 6, or every Thursday they put out new drives, or every, whatever. So you could just get used to the routine and don't fight for the ones that people are fighting for because they don't, have time or weren't aware.
Right.
Anyway, there's a lot of games to play on there.
They have that function now, right, where you just set, I want to pay $5 and that's it.
Yeah, you can put a max bid. Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of
yeah, but it's a little bit different because it doesn't submit those bids in increments like the Auction Sniper software would. So the Auction Sniper software will do things in increments and actually try to get it cheaper. Where I think the eBay one, the max bid you do, it's just going to throw the max out there.
No,
but it would be in dollars. That was the difference. So yeah. eBay, it has some progression. So like if it was a $10 item, it might be in dollars, but if it was a $100 item, it might be in tens. And if it was a $1,000 item, you might be increments of 100. And your sniper software, you could say $102, and then it would buy it for 102 instead of eBay, which might default to 150.
Okay, it's been a while since I've played around with anything as far as the auction. Nowadays, I just jump on. And I'll get be done.
Now looking backwards at that stuff, I mean, that was definitely a thing. But what was that? Maybe 3-4 years of time. It wasn't that long that you really had to deal with that because Amazon came along and just more and more. I guess what happened, there was a time there when we either had middlemen, which was horrible, or you knew somebody like a distributor, which was probably your best bet back in the old days. And then once the factories overseas figured out that they didn't need anybody to get on the internet and sell directly to us using those platforms and then eventually directly, that's where I think eBay, lived for a minute there for us because they were that middleman for a minute. Like they took out the middleman that would like not only cost money, but also be out of stuff. They never ordered what we needed. They would be out of the stuff that was actually needed all the time. But all the, the weird stuff they never had in stock because they didn't need it enough. So it was like just a hassle to have to stage stuff here. So eBay allowed us to buy stuff kind of straight from there, which, we're talking computer parts. I wish we could buy US made anything. You can't buy US made anything except for the names, right?
Yeah. Oh, and another
did you ever buy any bayonet? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask G if you ever found any cool bayonets on eBay anywhere.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I didn't, I'd like to find them organically in gun shows and stuff or whatever. Right. Or swap meets.
But I didn't know if like you're looking for one particular that you couldn't find anywhere.
A green Bakelite one. I have green Bakelite. Like there's not that much green Bakelite, period. And I got some, and I had to buy that off of eBay. Some of that, cool. And then there was an era. So for me collecting, I just bought a bunch of bayonets one time and was hooked. I was like, wow, I had no idea there was such a variety. So I started just going on, and this was in like the 2000s, 2004. It was basically at the end of the assault weapons ban. I got into bayonets. So, the internet was kind of first kicking there too. So, yeah, you could probably have found stuff on eBay, but it wasn't my first thing. I wasn't that into bayonets yet. I would just look for my gun shows. But by the time, I guess, my collection evolved and my participation in the community evolved, the internet had also evolved. So we had forums, and the forums, as you know, are like much faster. There's no middlemen costs or anything. So we kind of developed forums at about the same time as eBay. So every once in a while, we would discover somebody new off of eBay who didn't know about the forum, but almost always we would bring them over to the forums, and then there wasn't any need for eBay, unless it was somebody who had like a pile of them and they were going to sell all their extras on eBay. But I'm thinking, I keep saying, I'm talking about people from Europe. So for a long time, for maybe 4 or 5 years, the AK bayonet collecting at least, and probably most collecting, was a lot of people here. But as the internet grew and people in those other countries started to get internet, because us having internet doesn't help anybody. Once they have internet and they're online in our conversations with us, they start to figure out what we're interested in and what can make them money. Then all of a sudden we start seeing stuff over here, and now there's a reason to join these things over here. So all that kind of stuff, happened and evolved, kind of in order. I mean, kind of in a series there.
Yeah. Well, sort of in line with what you're saying there, and then what you were saying previously about those companies that would regularly put up batches of stuff. What happened with me is, after you buy a certain amount of stuff, I would buy a certain amount of stuff from a seller. Inevitably, they would communicate with me. They would contact me, and they would say, "Hey, here's our number, or here's our email, or whatever. When you want stuff, just call us." Because like they didn't want to pay the eBay fees, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
And so and that cut out a lot of eBay. I found a lot of great vendors and stuff from eBay, but it was a way to make initial contact, and then we just kind of got cut out like eBay cut out the middleman. We eventually cut out eBay.
Yeah, exactly. And once they figured out, hey, all we have to do is hire somebody that speaks English, and now we don't need any of that stuff.
Right.
Or they would use it, like you say, as outreach almost, and which is basically what we're talking about, using these platforms alternatively, right, for alternative outreach, basically. Yep. And you can do that by selling something. So having an account there is one thing, but maybe come up with a business card, go to Vistaprint and come up with a business card, like, your take on, don't, what's the word? Like, don't, dissuade CCW people from patroning your restaurant or your business. You could make up your own version of that card, and what do they cost? $7 or something to get them made on Vistaprint. It's only going to cost you like an envelope and a stamp to ship some of those, up to an ounce or something or more. And then that's a bunch of business cards. And if no one ever buys them, who cares? Because it costs you $0 to put that on eBay, I think. And then it's on eBay. You can't put a link to your stuff in the descriptions, which is lame. But you can definitely describe your stuff in the description. So it's almost like having a free ad up there.
Right. Yeah.
And if anybody buys them, boom, you got a little bit of outreach. And it's an opportunity to send them, some of those cards.
Right.
I guess you probably pay the cards off pretty quick because they only cost you $7 to get them made.
Yep.
All right. Well, so we've gone all over the place, and I think we started at 9, so we've gone about 2 hours. We're killing it for podcasting, but I haven't posted these things as a podcast in a while. I do that kind of in fits and starts, and I keep giving the advice that you got to keep doing this stuff because it doesn't always give you immediate results. But man, it's tough to give any credibility to stupid iTunes. I can't see anything coming out of iTunes ever, much as I try.
The bad thing about a lot of the podcast stuff is the lack of analytics, unless you pay for a service that goes through and pulls all that crap down. That's what sucks about the podcast world.
Yeah, back in the day, I used to stick them on my own server and then run them up with what was it called? Feed, flame feed, something, hot feed or something. It was like it was a little flame was their logo, and it was like some sort of a free thing, and then Google eventually bought it. And because it was how would you do with your videos? You'd stick them on a server, and then it would create the feed stream or whatever, and then distribute for you. Not distribute, it would just give you the feed, and then you'd have to go stick it into like iTunes and whatever. But because it went through them, you got analytics, you got uploads and durations and stuff, which was kind of cool, and it was free. And like I said, it was a free service. Google bought it. It was free for a couple of years, and then I don't even know if they still use it because I quit doing it because it was fairly crude. It was like old 1997 looking tech.
Right.
And it might have worked because there's just a feed, but that was the only way to ever get any kind of feed data, yeah. Except for the actual comments themselves. And that's why, again, you can either watch TV, and you can do that to the internet, or you can use the internet. And that involves, clicking a like once in a while or often when you appreciate what it is that you've experienced. And then using those comments because, like I say, those platforms like iTunes. And what about, wasn't it SoundCloud? No, Stitcher. Stitcher had some metrics. I don't know if you guys ever go into your Stitcher, or do you get Stitcher accounts when your thing feeds to all those different things? You have to have an account before it'll feed to it, right?
No, mine goes to Stitcher.
But I mean, do you have to have a Stitcher account?
That's a good question. I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I have a Stitcher account, but I don't have to post a Stitcher. It automatically goes there.
Okay, but I think then, assuming that it's like it used to be back when I paid attention, you can go to Stitcher and get some metrics. And it's like internal Stitcher only, but at least you get some idea of what's happening through the Stitcher app, which is, I think, the Android version of iTunes still, right? Or is it not anymore?
Android has, I think Android uses the Google Play podcast as like their.
No, I know. I mean, I know that. I just mean like as opposed to like iTunes is all in one encompassing. Like, and that's
that's
the one where everyone goes to. Like Stitcher is pretty much the other thing that people go to, right? Or is there a bigger one than Stitcher?
I think iHeartRadio is the biggest in the world now, I think.
Okay, and that's bigger than iTunes even.
Oh yeah,
I think so. Yeah,
I'm
sure it is.
Okay, and then they don't give you any kind of analytics.
No.
No.
Well, they probably would if you paid for that Spreaker.
Yeah.
Service.
Yeah.
But we backdoor it, so
we found a link that they don't like to put out.
Yep.
Right on. But like I say, so the podcast stuff is what it is. I guess, like I say, do it because it's fairly effortless. And again, if you're listening out there and saying, "Hey, no, don't give up on the podcast aspect," then let us know. Our email is dailygunshow@gmail.com. I don't know how you guys, clovertac.com, ghosttactical.com. Patriot, what do you got for people zeroing in on you?
I don't really have, besides Gun Channels, the Dark Side channel on gunchannels.com. That's all I have. I
Right
haven't jumped into a website yet.
That's all right.
Clover says I'm not good enough yet, so I'm just kidding.
So that's valid. The Gun Channels is designed to be a place for people to set up shop. We've had gun shop set up shop there before. Definitely people creating projects and things. So use that for now. But obviously Patriot _in_the_dark. So Patriot in the dark with underscores instead of just spaces on Instagram and something like that on YouTube.
Gunstreamer is Patriot in the Dark. GunTube, I believe he's got the actual link has plus signs in it, but if you just go over there, you can search it up as Patriot in the Dark, and then YouTube is obviously Patriot in the Dark. So, and Twitter is actually Patriot_ITD for my main Patriot one. I have Early Watch Michigan as well, but.
So I've heard that Night Strike was he's been efforting towards getting that little alt text heart thing up in his URLs. He's happened to fight the entire internet to do it, and it's going to be a real big educational campaign to get people to figure out how to type a heart on their keyboard in text. But he wants to make his platform unique.
There you go.
It's going to be GunTube.org. He's like, well, he's got that patch money coming, so he's going to fight the internet and get rid of the dot, get rid of the period.
Yeah, no dot, no more. Yeah, the period became the dot. Now the pound signs become the hashtag. What's next, right?
So does everybody know about alt text? Clover, you know about alt text?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Ghost, you know about alt text?
Yeah, I don't utilize it, but I know about it. Yeah.
Patriot, you know about alt text?
I've heard of it. Yes.
Okay, now hold on, Ghost. We're not talking about in an Instagram post. We're talking about on a keyboard, like how to invoke alt text, the alternate text of a keyboard.
No.
Okay. Another way of calling it is ASCII text. So if you've seen like a spade or a heart or a clover.
Oh yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I guess.
Sure.
You know, those kind of things.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
For example, the cent sign, right? You can get a dollar sign to happen on your keyboard because you can just hit a dollar sign because it's a key on there, right? But if you hold down the Alt key on your keyboard next to the space bar and then go over to your number pad and hit 0162, that'll make a cent sign show up on your keyboard. So there's all kinds of codes you can remember if you need to use like a solid square or an open square or like little weird signs, little squigglies. Like on them kids are always making little pictures out of text. They're using all that alt text. We were talking about alt text all day. I never even figured we'd wrap it up with.
Yeah, the actual alt text.
Yeah, how to get cent sign. I use the cent sign all the time because I hate writing $.0 something. I think that's like the metric version of writing money. So if you hold down Alt 0162 and then you get your cent sign, and then you act like a pro on the internet.
Does it work on eBay?
The cent sign works wherever. It's just I don't think you have to have an actual number pad on your keyboard is the thing.
0162. Oh, yeah, there it is. There.
It's the only one I remember because I use the cent sign a lot. But yeah, there you go. So alt text and all the way up to alt text. There you go. See, just my 2 cents, and then you can write it like it's supposed to be written. True English way. All right,
so it's just your 2 alt 0162.
Hold down the alt key with one hand, yeah, and then with your other hand hit 0162.
No, we
didn't get it.
In fact, if you hold down the alt key and then start slamming numbers, you'll get all kinds of weird symbols and shit show up. There, you can go online and just type in ASCII text or alt text, and it'll show you the map of what all the little codes are. Then you pretty much hold down the alt key. That's what the alt key is for, actually. Nobody uses it for anything, but that's what it's for. And I don't know, it did something on a typewriter, probably. I don't know what it does on a typewriter. Everybody's out there.
Space, maybe.
Was it? No, I think it brought up like if you had a third row of stuff, maybe, for like fancy typewriters. I don't know. I was going to say it is Free Patch Friday, and we did have a couple of people purchase stuff after the show last night. I wanted to thank them very much, and it looks like we did have one other order come in today. So again, thank you very much. Let's see what the hell this is. Oh no, what am I saying? We've had 3 more orders come in, so thank you very much for that.
Nice.
We posted a video earlier. Had a person order their 7th order, so I included a bunch of free stuff in there. But yeah, with the 2A patch batch and everything going, I haven't actually had an order from the store for quite a while, so really do appreciate that. That keeps the stuff online. I'm in an effort towards the Patreon thing there, but you never want to have all your eggs in one basket. We'll continue to have some new stuff. I didn't have a chance to do it today because our chat from Thursday got moved to Friday. We had a chat with Trevor from the Big Sandy machine gun shoot earlier today, but I had just finished some new. I've been playing with these plastics. I finished some new projects that have kind of like finished, I guess, hardened up in the afternoon here. Haven't had a chance to go see what the finished result look like, but we'll include those in with some of the stuff that came in today, and probably stuff that comes in tomorrow as well, as a way again to say thanks and to make it as worth your while as possible. I know people are sometimes purchasing for multiple orders, and again, we're very grateful for that. It allows us to do what we're doing, and hopefully you get something out of it and you can share that or gift it or enjoy it. So we've got tomorrow is Saturday, so Travis will start off the day with Caliber Corner, and I haven't paid attention as you do the show.
I don't know if I think he's moved it to Thursday.
Already?
Maybe not.
I know he was talking about it, but yeah, I'm not 100%.
I'm sure tomorrow is supposed to be Rick's extravaganza, since he doesn't have Travis corking him in the morning.
Okay, so Rick's Life as I See It is going to go live longer?
Saturday is his longer chat, but it still starts at 3.
So he's still going to start at the same time. He's not going earlier.
No, not that I know of. He hasn't told me.
So we know he's going to be longer. We assume he's going to be liver. We just don't know if he's going to also be earlier.
Yes. And
then I do the 2A workshop. I'll attempt to do that tomorrow. I'm working on stupid taxes, and I handed it off, and now I don't get to decide when to work on it again. People are helping me, so when they say they're ready, I stop everything and help or work on it more. So I'll do that. I'll do the 2A workshop, if I can, and then let's see, Sarge had his show Saturday, so it'll be Obnoxious doing a show tomorrow night, as well as Snob.
Yeah, Obnoxious did his yesterday, Thursday, so Sarge has his tomorrow, and then Gun Snob.
Oh, then I'm all mixed up. Okay, and then it all starts for Sunday, I guess. So, Clover, what do you got coming up?
St. Patrick's Day is Sunday, so I expect some large Patreon donations and all that good stuff, since it's my day of the year. So thank you very much for that in advance. I don't have anything coming up until next week, honestly. Gonna enjoy the weekend. Gonna actually get out to the local gun shop tomorrow. So got to get out there, pay on my tab a little bit, probably eat some type of barbecue or grilled food of some kind that they serve on Saturdays, and enjoy the day. Did drop the Firearm Friday this morning, which is Debbie with not Walk the Talk America, but Mental Health America. I'm sorry. Great conversation there. Pairs well with the podcast that Ghost did about a week or so ago.
Right on. Ghost, you got anything happening this weekend?
I'm hosting a fun shoot at the range on Sunday, but as far as content, I think the next thing that's in the task bar to come out is Monday. So and that'll be a pretty cool video for 2019 carry guns that people might be interested in.
Right on. I'm going to let Patriot tell us about the Liberty Challenge, and then before we end, let's talk about the idea of getting together for wrapping up designs for the 2A patch. So before that, though, Patriot, you got your thing we talked about a little bit earlier. Am I calling it the right thing? The Liberty Challenge?
It's the Defend Liberty Project. I figured I'd throw a project in there because I hope I want to keep this going. I don't want it to be just a challenge and, there'll be random giveaways just to, spur it on, but I hope it takes off a little bit. As far as, the local information that you get, it's your county, state, region, national, whatever you have. If you hear something, do some research, find out what's going on, read the bills, look at, multiple sources, whatever, and then obviously do a project, either, a video or Instagram post, detailed information, links, everything, make sure that you get good links and stuff, and then post that, use the hashtag Defend Liberty Project, and come over to my channel and post a link, which is helpful. Also, once you do that, make sure you share everyone else's, and then as well as get that information and possibly print it out, find some of the other videos or information that other people are putting out, get copies of that, and actually go somewhere, get away from your computer or your phone and talk to people in like real life. Go to a gun shop, talk to your local shop, a couple guys. Gary was talking that, somebody set up a table at his local shop, so you don't have to go as far as that unless you want to, get some flyers, whatever, put it out, get some information, pass out the links, then follow up with people as well, your friends and family, coworkers, make sure they actually do it instead of just throwing it in their pocket or something. That's just to bring up the awareness. And also the focus is on liberty versus, on firearms and Second Amendment, because an encroachment on our liberties is important to everyone, I hope. So that's kind of the gist. Hopefully I can get with G and connect it with everysecondmatters.com. He brought that up after I kind of threw this out there, and it's obviously it's a great thing. I want to get the playlists, and then so that we can share the playlist, because obviously that information, once we get more copies of it out there and more points of view on it and the actual information, I think it's going to help, because awareness is where it's at, I think.
Right on. So is this thing working? Can you see my screen? I probably should have locked on it.
Yeah, we can see it.
It'll be done moving here in a second. All right, so this is one of the things I figured I'd let everybody see what it looks like to unbox one of these things. I might go lock it on my screen. So has anybody ever done this kind of stuff before? We're looking at a thing about the size of a bar of soap. This is probably a deal for making a bar of soap. And I'm encased like 5 rounds of 7.62 by 39, just kind of next to each other in this thing of, it's not really lucite, but it's equivalent to a clear block of plastic. So has anybody ever done this kind of project before?
Nope.
So it's pretty neat. You just you get these silicone molds that aren't very expensive, and you get the stuff. It's liquid, and you pour it in. There's some trick to it, some techniques, I guess, and I'm still learning those. But I should probably put gloves. I got myself a pair of the extra large gloves at Harbor Freight. I realized they make them in sizes now. So now I'm not like feeling like I'm jamming my hand into something every time I move my fingers and stuff. Anyway, so I don't know how well it's coming in. Is it clear?
Yeah.
The image or whatever. Yeah. So a little bit of cloudiness there.
Ew, yuck. Yeah, the bottom's really cloudy. I'm hoping that's the spray stuff. Maybe that'll wipe off. Hopefully it's not the mix. But anyway, I don't know if you can tell that's a little cloudier than this side. And then there's this like edge that I'm still working on. But being able to go in and see them, I think I did pretty good as far as keeping them level this time. They're not all falling over. And as far as even this way, there's a little gap and everything. So there's a couple of things that make it tricky. Anyway, so that's one thing. So what is that, about not quite an inch thick, and then it's about 3 inches by 2 inches, a little bit bigger than 3 inches by 2 inches. And then that's just 5 rounds. You can see the head stamps and the variances and the primer colors and the types of primers, right? The cases and the projectiles have different things to them. And then I tried these. So this was originally going to be something else, and it didn't work. So I tried this idea and wanting to do something like the Gun Channel's press pass for a while. Wow, that came right out of there, huh? So this is the internet press.
That's pretty cool.
News media thing, right? And then now it's about that thick. See, it's not perfect. I got to figure out how to do this better. And then it's got the Gun Channel's card on this side. This one's shitty. That one I knew was shitty because I stuck it in too early. This one hopefully won't have any bubbles on it. But see, you just pour that stuff in there and it's rubber and it's all soft, so it just comes right out. Oh yeah, that one looks a lot better. So you got the Gun Channel's business card on one side. This is basically the size of a luggage tag, Patriot, and I stuck in it. And I figured out it works with a business card. So now you've got like a little, what do you call it, a hole there for a something, cord or whatever. And then you've got a press pass and a Gun Channel's card. Maybe for a bag. I mean, it's not small. It's huge. It's the big size of a business card plus
How
a little
thick is
extra.
it? About a quarter inch?
Yeah, a little extra up here. About a half.
No, I'm talking about thickness.
Yeah, and actually with the way that it got thicker up here, that's probably good because it gives you more meat for this thing.
Yeah.
So now I got to figure out if I grind the edge or sand it and then polish it or something, because I don't know if you can tell, but it sinks a little bit. It shrinks or whatever. So there's some surface tension and you've got like an edge here. I can't make it focus and stupid YouTube hangouts.
Right.
But I don't know with the best kind of background. But anyway, it's got a little bit of a shallowness to it. Anyway, it's kind of neat pulling them out of these things. You don't want to touch them. That's the other problem. You have to really let these things set, because you can imagine these things take a fingerprint if they're tacky at all. So it's kind of frustrating having to sit there watch them forever. Oh yeah, this one came out pretty good too, huh? So potentially do some other stuff up here, right? Got a little room, or come up with a different shape or something. So some of the ideas that I've been playing around with, and y'all get to see them first, and potentially the people that bought something over on your websites, maybe I got too many of these. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Uh-oh.
All right, I'm gonna jump back to the other machine there. Unless you guys have any more questions about this stuff. What?
No, I might talk to you about off air or something, but yeah.
What? Okay.
Top secret.
All right. So with that, I guess we'll wrap it up. If everybody got to see that stuff, there you go. Thanks everybody for watching and listening.